Centuries before our parents ever told us don't talk to strangers, Jesus told us the same thing. In John chapter 10, he starts out by saying, "Assuredly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door but climbs up another way, the same as a thief and a robber. But he who enters the door is the shepherd of the sheep." He then says, "To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calls his own sheep by name, and they follow him because he leads them out. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and his sheep follow him, for they know his voice." There are several interesting things that Jesus alludes to in calling himself the shepherd. We know obviously from some things that are said further in the chapter, Jesus says, "I am the shepherd. I am the good shepherd." And yet, as we think about what he says about his sheep, notice that the sheep hear his voice, and when they hear his voice, because they not only hear his voice, they hear him call them individually by name. You see, to Jesus, each one of his sheep, each one of his people is not a number, but a person with a name. It's very personal. It's very individual. And so when they hear their voice, when they hear Jesus' voice calling their name, then they know that it's him, and they recognize his voice, and then he leads them out and they follow. The text goes on to say that Jesus mentions, "Yet they will by no means follow a stranger." Stay away from strangers, our parents told us. Stay away from strangers, Jesus tells us. And how do we distinguish? How do we recognize a stranger versus the true shepherd? I am told that those who are in the business of detecting counterfeit money don't study counterfeit money, but they study real money so that they know what the real thing is, that they can easily distinguish it from what's the fake. We need to listen to our Savior. We need to listen to our shepherd. We need to recognize his voice. We need to know who the real shepherd is and what the real thing is, so that then we have no problem distinguishing between what's fake. Listen to the shepherd.